Welcome back, you awesome people, to another episode of FML Talk. I'm so excited for my guest today. She is now a best-selling author, but before that, she is an actress, a singer. You would know her from One Tree Hill or all of her amazing country songs. But oddly enough, her and I have some interesting things in common. And one of those things happens to be Javier. Get ready for some crazy stories. This is FML Talk.
Oh my God.
Wait, how old was the other girl?
19. Can you believe that shit?
Hey, this is Gabrielle Stone.
Good book?
He did what? 48 hours?
What a dick.
Yeah, but have you seen all the photos on her Instagram?
And this is FML Talk.
Oh, no, she didn't.
You guys, I am so excited to have this badass woman here. She is an author, actress, singer, all around badass, and I have become such a fan of hers, and I'm so happy that we have become friends over the last year. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FML Talk, Mrs. Jana fucking Kramer.
Oh my goodness, that is the best intro I've ever gotten, especially the effing part.
Yeah. Well, here on FML Talk, we drop the F-bomb probably more than we should. How are you, my love?
I'm good. I mean, today's kind of a weird day. I just feel like something's in the air, but it's I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
I feel like that's the general consensus of 2020 is like there's just something in the air.
Yeah. I mean, literally and figuratively, there is something flying around in the air.
Right.
Causing, but also, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just an interesting time, but I think, with 2020, it's just been, there's been so many positives too, along with the obvious negatives. But I feel like, I've been trying to look more into the silver linings of things.
Totally. That's like what I live by is the everything happens for a reason phase. So it's like, you just got to look and find it.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk first before we get into, you have so much amazing stuff to dive into today. But because all of my FML Talk people are predominantly here from my book, I want to start with how you and I even came to meet, because it's a really wild situation that only happens in my life. So I'll let you kind of take it away.
So I knew Javier. And who obviously is a big part of your book, and your story and your life. And, I remember, being at, the park on Woodmont. It wasn't Woodmont. It was Moore Park. It was the Woodmont Park. And, I just remember talking to him and him saying that he, is dating someone. And I was like, I know, I've seen the photos. She's beautiful. I just remember there's this one photo of you on Instagram because, he rarely talked about other girls, or had like a girlfriend. So, I remember seeing the photo of you guys. I think it was on the beach, and just like, wow, like he's so, like, you could just tell, like, he's in love. Javier's found the one. And, he's like telling me this at the park, and I'm like, that's so awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you. But he's like, yes, but he's like, I'm supposed to go to Europe with her. He's like, but I'm not going to go with her. He's like, I'm still going to go. He's like, I'm just dealing with some stuff right now. And I'm like, does she know? And he's like, not really. And I'm just like, I felt like,
oh my God, wait, I didn't know that you guys had this conversation before.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, not before he told me. I had no idea.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, that makes total sense.
But I was like, oh my God, I'm like, you have to tell her, like, and so long story short, I had still, I think he went off to do, because that was after he filmed something. And so anyway, so he ended up going to Europe, and then I kind of, we've always remained friends throughout the years. Obviously I didn't know who you were, so which is why I didn't call and check in on you, because I'm like,
right. This was before you and I crossed paths.
Yeah, way before. So it would be like this weird, like whatever. But yeah, we just, we would text a few times and being like, hey, because I have known him since I was like 20. I've known him for almost 12 something years. So what's crazy is I was doing a movie in Louisiana with your mother.
Yep.
And I was telling your mom, I just had like this immediate like soul connection with your mom.
She does that with a lot of people. She's like,
I mean,
she's everyone's mom.
like, she's just the best. Like, I just remember being like, I loved her. I wanted to take care of her. She wanted to take care of me. It just became like this really like awesome relationship. And I was telling her, we were having wine and I was confiding with her about, my relationship that I'm currently in and the struggles that we've had. And she's just like, oh my gosh. She's like, you sound just like my daughter. And I was like, tell me more about your daughter. And like, she just told me like, you wrote this book and it hasn't come out, or no, I think it had just come out.
Yeah. Like barely.
Yeah, it had just come out. She's like, you can get it. Like it just came out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, amazing. Like, and so, I pull it up on Amazon and I order it and I'm so excited. And, she's telling me about like, your divorce and then how he cheated. And I mean, just like everything. And so I think that night, oh no, it wasn't that night. It was when we were filming. I was like, she was talking about you again. And I was like, okay, so what's her name? Like I got her book, but like, what's her name again?
Yeah.
And I went on Instagram and looked you up and I was like, holy F, that was Javier's girlfriend. I was like, I totally stalked her before I even knew you because I wanted to know who this new girl in Javier's life was.
Yeah.
So it was just, I was like, oh my gosh.
And then,
I was
but
like,
when
Mom.
you told, so my mom, of course, has very, specific feelings about the two men that I write about in the book. And she called me and she goes, Gabrielle, I'm shooting with this woman, Jana Kramer, and I just love her and she's so wonderful. And I told her all about you. And then she looked at me on set and said, oh my God, is your daughter's ex-boyfriend Javier? And she was like, I looked like I saw a ghost. Like my stomach just dropped out of my ass. And I was
remember
like,
her
oh my
face,
God. I can't even imagine what she was thinking in that fucking moment.
And I'm like, oh my God, this was the girl that he said that he wasn't going on the trip with. And then once we started talking, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So after this, Jana and I started following each other on Instagram and we were like, oh my God, our worlds are freakishly similar and how odd that the universe brought us together in this crazy way. And then I came on and did your podcast, Wind Down, which is a long running, incredible podcast. And
sweet.
it was so wild. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but this is more book 2 stuff. But I ended up, having a conversation with Javier and we were catching up and I was like, yeah, so funny story. I'm friends with one of your good friends. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, well,
Hey.
and we've been, and you've really been just a beautiful addition to all the strong women in my life and the way that you carry yourself and stand in your own. I feel like our paths were supposed to cross. It just happened to be in the funniest of ways.
The funniest, but the best. Like, it just was like, I always believe that people are supposed to meet. And, I never would have thought that like we would have met from me, like looking at your Instagram, but it's just that we were supposed to be connected. And this is how it was just how it was meant to be,
Yeah, totally. So you've had a myriad of interesting relationships in your life. Like, I don't even know which one we should start talking about. What do you think was your biggest, your most difficult relationship for you to kind of leave and survive?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that because I think the most, like, if you look at my relationship past, it's like, okay, I married someone when I was 19. I knew him for a week. We went to Vegas. I was super sober, and which just makes it worse. That guy tries to kill me. He goes to jail for attempted murder, attempted murder. And then the next guy, I dated for 3 years. I married him because I didn't know how to call off a wedding. He's now like one of my closest friends.
Oh, that's great.
Friends. Yeah. And his wife is my best friend.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I feel like the hardest relationship is this relationship that I'm in now because it's all of those things have bled into this marriage, but I think it's harder when you have kids, you know? So obviously this relationship, for those that don't know, like my husband was unfaithful, and, you know, the first year of our marriage is when, you know, I found out about everything. And I think that's been the hardest relationship because the past 5 years has just been like a struggle. Like, do I stay? Do I go? What do I do? You know, it's just, am I happy? Am I not happy? Is this worth fighting for? But then I have my kids. And I think, you know, I've got out of the abusive relationship. I got out of, you know, the relationship that I knew wasn't the right one. But this one is like, I love him. It's just, marriage is just hard at the end of the day. Like, it just is hard. And there's so many times when like you wonder, you're like, am I fighting the good fight for, and that's our book, but like for the right reasons, or am I doing it for my kids? And I think at the end of the day, it's like, I'm doing it for both, but also like, because, you know, I believe that I'm supposed to be with him, but at the same time, it's like living with an addict. It's so hard. So there's just so many elements where it's like, this is by far the hardest relationship I've been in.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because when I came on to your show and we talked about how we both went through infidelity, but you chose to stay and work through it, and I chose to get a divorce. But a lot of people on the outside looking in will think, oh, one's such an easy route, or, you know, why is she choosing to just stay? Like she should get the balls to get up and leave, or why is she just running away? She should get the balls to, you know, stay and work through her marriage. And I think it's really important for everybody that's listening to understand that not only is each situation different and it's dependent on the people that are involved in it, but it's hard either way. Dude, it's hard to stay and work through that. And it's hard to pick up and be like, okay, bye, I'm getting a divorce, and like letting all that out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's no easy way out. There's no easy way out of, you know, sometimes I think I'm like, what would have been easier? None of it's easy, you know, leaving, you know, divorcing and having separation with the kids. And it's just like, none of that's easy.
Yeah.
So
especially
it's just
with kids, with kids. You know, like
especially with kids for sure. But I mean, even so, like, you know, if we didn't have kids and he did it I mean, granted, he cheated on me before we even got married. And I was like, okay, shit, I'm 30 years old. Like, or I just turned 31, and I'm like, you know, he's good. He's good enough. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, we then like start to like really think about like, okay, you know, I think I could probably make it work. Because right. You go down the list of like, well, God, I don't want to have to go dating again. And then it's going to take these many years. And like, right. So it's like you start to think about, but it's like, it's not easy either way.
So if you had to think of one thing that was really the deciding factor that made you be like, I'm going to stay and try to make this work, what do you think it was?
I mean, in the very beginning, it was the kids. So, I mean, that was the number one reason. And I think now it's just everything that like we've like worked for, mm-hmm. And fought for. But, you know, I still do believe that like people should be happy. And if you're not, then, you know, it's okay to, you know, leave, but you know, you have to give it a chance. You have to give it a try. You have to put in the work. But I mean, I definitely would say is my kids, because, you know, I have such a hard time with the fact that because of someone's own issues and problems, they're now changing the way that like how I see my kids. And I'm like, that's so selfish to me. So I'm like, and I'm such like a mama bear. I'm like, I will raise my kids. I will not be separated from them. Like, so I mean, the kids are definitely a reason why I've stayed.
Yeah. And what do you think it is that made you, because it's correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, it wasn't just the first cheating that happened. Like you guys have had kind of an up and down situation over the years.
Yeah. I mean, because he is an addict, like there's things like, you know, he almost had an affair on me. Like he almost tried to be with someone. And then I basically showed up at the hotel instead of the other woman. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. Like that was 2 years into working on things. But then I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant with our son.
Oh my God, Jana.
I know. So like that was, you know, we wrote about that in the book where it's like on the chapter 9, pray on it, is like when I was just like, you dude, like God, like you gotta like help me walk through this. Cause I can't, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So you found out that he was supposed to be meeting someone at a hotel and then you went instead of her.
It was like that like classic movie.
I was going to
where,
say,
like,
that sounds like a scene from a fucking movie.
Yeah, where I show up and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, what? You know, at that time, he's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. And I'm like, I know everything. I've seen all the correspondence, you know, like, you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot and you just lost everything.
Right.
And, you know, then I found out I was pregnant. And so it had that whole like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah, because that's a lot of, you know, I know a lot of people like hear this situation and they're like, so why didn't you just leave? But when you're not only in a marriage, you already have a child, you then are going through all the hormones of being pregnant again and thinking like, well, how do I walk away from something that I've built with this person that when I have two little other lives to think about? Like, it's a whole nother level of confusion, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then, you know, there's just been like other things too that have happened. And it's just like, okay, but it's slowly, like, I slowly see growth. And that's like, that's what I need to see now. And again, if anything were to happen now, like, I don't have enough, like, I don't have anything left to give. And at that point, I'm like, I did everything I could do. So hopefully he stays sober and he works his program and he's, you know, consistent with our things. But, you know, you never know. And that's the scary part, which is why this one makes this relationship the hardest.
And I think it's a testament to you as a woman to really be there and nurture him through all of that and not leave. Like, in my perspective, I had an easy decision. Like, it was like, Daniel cheated. He had multiple extramarital affairs going on, and a full-on girlfriend. And by that time, it was just like, nope, I'm not happy. This is bullshit, and I'm gone. But that for me was an easy decision. I don't know if we would have owned a house together, if we would have had kids together. Like, that probably would have been a longer thought process. Do I think I still probably would have left in the end? In my personal situation, yeah. I wasn't in love with him anymore, but there's so many layers to it, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
So before we jump into all of your crazy success that's come in the past couple months, which I'm so excited about, are you comfortable going back to the relationship before that, who he went to jail for attempted murder? Because I'm really interested to hear about some of that.
For sure. Yeah.
So tell me about like how that came to be so violent and what type of situation that was.
So I met him when I was 19. He was like 24 years older than me. I had some really bad daddy issues. And so I met him and he just seemed amazing. You know, he said he was like he said he was the DJ for Eminem, and he was, you know, kind of like a bad boy, but like super sweet. And, you know, and so I met him and I just thought he was great. And long story short, like 2 weeks into knowing him, we're like, let's go to Vegas and get married, as a joke, which is so stupid. But we went through a drive-through and got married. And then I was like, okay, that was fun. Like, let's obviously, like, we're not going to stay married. And he ends up straight up disappearing, leaves. And I'm like, oh my God, I have like this husband out in the world. I have no idea, like, you know, who he is or what his like middle name is, for all I know.
Right.
And, he ended up, like literally disappearing for a few months. I booked a movie in Romania. So I went to go film a movie. During that time, I got really sick. And I had reached out to him and he flew to Romania, helped me. And I saw just a really sweet side of him. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, first of all, where did you go? Why'd you disappear?
So you hadn't spoken that whole time?
Yeah. He said his dad died. And, you know, he just was like, he really liked me. And the fact that I was just like, so willing to throw it away. And I'm like, okay, well, we knew each other for 2 weeks, but okay.
Yeah.
And, but he just was like, he took good care of me in the hospital. And then, I said, let's just put the marriage card on the back burner and let's just date, you know, and we can figure out everything else like from there. But then little things started happening. I started isolating from my friends because, you know, he didn't like any of my friends. And then he would be really, manipulative and verbally abusive. And then, you know, like, for example, like I went to the store and I got milk and he's like, and Tylenol because I had a headache. And he's like, why would you get fucking Tylenol? I was like, because I have a headache. And he like threw the bag of milk like down the apartment. We were at the Archstone Apartments in Studio City. And I just like started crying. And he just was saying like the meanest things. And then he pushed me. That was the first time he ever like pushed me. Mm-hmm. But then like a push slowly went to a more forceful grab, a more forceful push. And then it went to choking. And then it went to hitting. And then, you know, at that point I was like having to cancel auditions because I'd be bruised. And then my agents dropped me and my manager because I'm like, I wasn't doing anything.
And was this the first time you had ever been in an abusive relationship and experienced that, like anything?
I mean,
like
I had experienced some things in my past in childhood, but never towards me.
Right.
But I also thought that it was okay because I had experienced those things in my childhood. Right. So I had seen that, oh, like that's normal. These kind of explosive things are normal.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell anyone because, you know, I was married to him. So I was scared about that. And if you would have met him, you would have loved him. Like he was so charming, so sweet.
They always
I mean, just
are.
like, I know. I mean, he had so many friends. And yeah, it just, the next year was just, I mean, you know, him just being really abusive and I had no friends. And, you know, he then tried to kill me. And then he went to jail for premeditated attempted murder. Cause I had run down to the neighbor's house like 2 weeks before the actual incident happened. And, that's how we were able to say that he tried before. But, of course I went back thinking it was my fault. The things that he would do was just awful. Like he took a picture of my dogs on the highway and said, if you don't come home, I'll let them go.
What?
I mean, he was messed up, like so messed up. Like, you know, he burnt my clothes. He burnt some of my things. Like I had to sleep in my car. Like he locked me out of the house. Like,
oh my God,
there was just so many things that like happened. And I just had no one. And like, I didn't know, I was so terrified of like, and ashamed of like telling my mom or anything like that. Right. Just because, you know, how do I tell her that I did something so stupid?
So then when he
went to jail,
when he tried to kill you, how did you guys call the cops? Like, how did that come to be, you know, how did you get arrested?
My girlfriend was in town. And we had gotten to an argument because I'd re-signed with an agent like during this time. And she got me a role, in the movie Click with Adam Sandler. And so we had gone to the not rap party, but I'd done the table read. And then, we went out to Spider Club in Los Angeles and I had texted one of my co-stars in there being like, hey, I'm coming out with my, my boyfriend, like, and my girlfriend, like so excited, to see y'all. Like, are you still headed this way? Right. Well, he saw that in my phone. So his typical thing to do was he would come up in the middle of the night. Like he'd come home, like just inebriated and just a mess. He would throw me out of bed. And then he threw my phone at me. He's like, you fucking texted this guy. And I'm like, I just wanted to see like if they were coming, like I said, my boyfriend, like and just was like super jealous. And then he started hitting me and then he threw me up against a window and the mirror cracked. And then he's like, that's it. I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to kill you. So like, this is the second time he said like, he's going to kill me. So like, I freaked out again. So I ran like outside. It was like screaming, running outside. I hid in the bushes and I saw his car leave. So I came back in, I grabbed my keys. I screamed for my friend. Like, I'm like, help, I'm going to be outside. Like meet me in the car. And this is again, like 3-something in the morning. So she like barely heard it. And then when I came back out to the car, he was standing there with like his hand behind his back. And I was just like, this is it. Like, this is, I'm done. Like, he's going to kill me right here. And he put a rock in front of the gate and he just, I mean, he was obviously bigger than me. So, and I was like 98 pounds at the time.
You're tiny.
And then he just came on top of me and just started hitting me and choking me. And, I was trying to like gouge his eyes or like hit him back and I was scraping him or doing whatever I could, but he was literally suffocating me. And I screamed and I was like, please stop. Like my mom. And he was like, fuck your mom. And he's like, you're done. You're dying. And the crazy thing is like, I saw everything. Like I saw like my mother at my funeral. Like in that moment, I was like, it was just like a very near death, like life experience. And I just I had just like, he suffocated me to the point where I passed out.
Right.
So he thought maybe that I was like dead. So he had left. At this point, my girlfriend had heard the scream. So she called 911.
Mm-hmm.
So when the ambulance came, I was laying there. I had broken ribs. I was like, I mean, all scraped up. And so I think I just passed out from the like hyperventilation.
Sure.
So then there was a warrant out for his arrest. And then, long story short, we did not a jury trial. We did a trial. And that's when I had to tell my mom that I married him. And that's when I got the rap sheet of all the things. He had like alias last names. He had been in jail for money laundering for 10 years.
Stop.
He had been in jail for 7 years for domestic abuse on his previous wife. He has,
oh my God.
I've just talked to like one of the 8 little girls he's had. Like he has children everywhere. Like he stole like $40,000 from my mom, like credit cards in my name too.
Oh my God, Jana.
I mean, just a massive con artist. And so then he ended up getting picked up, went to jail. He got sentenced to 12 years. He got out in 8. And he called me because I had like the same number or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I talked to him and he asked for help. And I was just like, I will never help you.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever contact me again. And I had another girl reach out to me on Facebook that he abused after he got out of prison. And then he committed suicide in a hotel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that feel like a relief when that happened?
So I'll never forget when that happened. I was in Austin, Texas. I was on a radio tour. And I got the call from the DA because anytime he'd ever move, like I would be alerted because there was obviously a restraining order and just from the previous, because I was terrified of him. Like I was relieved because I'm like, I can now close my eyes when I sleep, but I felt guilty. And I think that's like the victim mentality. Like I felt like it was my fault that he was dead because, okay, if he wouldn't have met me or if I didn't turn him in, then he would maybe, so it's like, I was like, going around in circles, but mostly it was relief.
I can't even imagine. Like, it's literally like having a monster in your life that's then suddenly gone.
Yeah.
But that honestly, so to tie it all in with your previous or with your current relationship, when you were saying, when you were going down the list of like, well, it's not that bad, that makes a lot of sense because like, look where you came from. You know what I mean? So you're like, well, this is nothing compared to what he did to me. Oh my God, my heart is like hurting right now from that story, girl.
But at the same time, like I also know my worth, and who knows, like there's a lot of things that came from that. And there's a lot of, things I've been able to do with that and help other people. Luckily that, we have the platform to be able to help other people. And so, I partner with Safe Horizon, which helps, battered women and kids and, giving them a place to stay and get on their feet and be protected from their abuser. So there's so many things that like you can look at it from a positive light. And, I think that when people are given the platform, they should use their voice to speak on the things that, they're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. So in lighter news,
you're
a fucking best-selling author, dude.
Oh,
if you guys have not gotten her book yet that you should have done already, it's called The Good Fight, and it's all about her marriage and them working through it. And you and Mike co-wrote it, correct? Together?
Yeah, we co-wrote it. We wrote it all ourselves. We didn't have a ghostwriter. So we put every word on the page, and it was from both of our perspectives. So, whether you're single, married, divorced, whatever it is, I mean, we share stories of, how you can be a better friend, how you can be a better parent. But mostly it's relationally based, but, you hear we talk about fights and how we've gotten through them and share stories, and we just open our lives up a little bit more. There's
some incredible stories and information in there. I'm about halfway through it and I'm like trying to decide if I want to switch to the audiobook or not so I can hear your guys' voice like saying it. But I'm so proud of you, and I think it's I know it's already helping so many people. What's it been like getting the messages from readers?
It's been awesome. I mean, I was obviously worried, like what was the reception going to be, but people have been so great about it. People have said that it's really been helping their marriage, that they've had better communication. I've also heard from a mom who said, you know, she's like, I didn't think I was going to get anything from the book. She's like, I thought I was just going to be entertaining. She's like, but you know, there was a chapter on, are you listening? And she's like, when my daughter was telling me something that happened, I went straight into, well, you got to do this and this and this and this. And, you know, we got into an argument, and then I realized that's not what my daughter needed. She needed me to just listen and just not offer advice or whatever, but there's ways to be like, what do you need right now? Like, do you need me just to listen, or do you need me to help, or do you need me to like, just be there for you? So there's just like so many things, good takeaways that people are getting from the book. And that just makes me so happy.
Yeah. I think that's one of my favorite things since becoming an author is the messages from people that are truly affected by what we've written, and just feeling that like what we've gone through and all of the bullshit is now so worth it because it's like helping change other people's lives and like the direction that they're able to heal.
Yep, absolutely.
I am so freaking proud of you. If anyone for some reason is not following you on social media, can you please tell them where they can do that so they can keep up with you?
At Kramer Girl.
On all platforms, and she's wonderful, amazing. Go get her book, The Good Fight, and I love you, girl. Thank you so much for being here.
I love you so much, and I just think you're such a badass, and I'm so proud of you and everything that you're doing. So keep doing it, and to Javier, may we know them, but may we don't love them anymore.
Cheers to that, girl. Yes. I want to thank Jana from the bottom of my heart for coming on and being so vulnerable with me. I think it is such a testament to how strong women can be when you hear stories like that and all the shit that we've gone through and survived and come out the other end as better humans. It's really inspiring for me. Next week, we are going to talk all about cheating and divorce and how to move on from all of the insane shit that blows up in your relationship life. The stuff that I've dealt with firsthand. I'm going to share some of my experiences, my techniques in how to move on and trust people again. And it's one of the things I get asked about most is how to really move forward once you've gone through something that has totally just crushed your soul in your love life. Don't forget, we have our holiday giveaway going on that we will announce December 20th. So make sure you get your merch and post your pictures with it. We are going to discount one of the sweatshirts, 25% off the white one that happens to be my favorite that says I ate, I prayed, I FML'd. So if you want to pick that one up, you can go to it now for 25% off. And make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. DM us with anything specific that you want to hear or see on the show. And if you have an FML story, send us a DM and we will send you instructions on how to record to possibly be on the show. Until next Wednesday, guys, sending you lots of love. Mwah.